Hello, people on the internet. My name is Sorry about that. My name is Gaten Mox, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today we are going to do a ranked / tier list / worst to best, and we are going to do it of one of the biggest hit or miss franchises of all time in the horror genre or slasher, Final Destination. These consist of 5 different films. Most are bad, some are good. We're going to break down the worst of it, the best of it, all in one video. This video will obviously contain spoilers, so obviously do not watch this video if you want to be spoiled. Or if you don't want to be spoiled, I mean. If you don't want to be spoiled, do not watch this video. As a side note, if you do not want to be spoiled of the video but know my ranking, you can look in the comments down below where I would put worst to best, just putting small details why they're bad and such and such. So yeah, let's get right into it, starting with the worst film of all time in the franchise. The worst film in the Final Destination franchise is no doubt, and I mean no doubt, Final Destination 4, or The Final Destination. This film was released in 2009 and was the second and last film ever made. And it boggles me how shitty it was. Like, there was so much bad about this film, but I'll try to break it down to you on the bulletin board. Number 1, cartoony ass effects. The deaths are very cartoony sounding, and in the premonition at the racetrack in the beginning when all the shit goes down, the deaths and effects are very cartoony, which is very sad if you think about it, because what they are doing is mostly practical effects, but for some reason it didn't come up that well on the final version, and it just made it bad. I know they were trying to go for a cartoony, dark, gritty kind of thing, but it just didn't work out compared to the rest of the films and how they were. Another thing about this film, it sucks. Awful, and I mean awful characters. All the characters are bad in this film except one, George, the security guard. He is the black security guard you see at the racetrack. He dies later on by a sudden death by the ambulance, but sadly it's very predictable, as most of the film is. And what I like about George's character is that he is a character who's actually developed well. He gives good scenes to develop himself. He actually has emotion, he actually has backstory, and he has meaningful last words, you know, like he says that he's content with dying. He wants to be with his family because he killed his family in a car crash by drunk driving. And it's really meaningful, and I really like his character. And I like it. It's a good character. Sadly, a favorite character, and only that favorite character, is the only redeeming thing about the film. Not even the deaths can redeem it. Gory as shit, yes, but horrible deaths nonetheless. Now, my least favorite characters in the whole shit bag of shit bags is Hunter. Let me break down him first. Hunter is a sleazy sex bag, just piece of shit character, annoying as hell, extremely cocky at times, who only talks about sex and his last wish was to get laid. Jeez, guys, I don't know, but I think this guy kind of likes sex. Like the jokes he makes too about how he flips a head or tails and says, well, and he's like something about heads or something like that. It's like wanting to get head. Like, oh, fuck off, please. The way he dies is even more stupider than his character, though. He drops his lucky coin, which for some reason he has, and it goes in the pool, which he's around, by the way, and he jumps into it, and accidentally, oh yeah, he hit a drain pool thing to turn it on. He turned on a drain pool thing. And then, well, basically he got his ass stuck on one of the drain pools and eventually blew up because of the pressure. Very stupid. Very stupid death. Just eye roller all the fucking way through. My other least favorite character is Carter. And he's definitely not as memorable or great as the first Carter in the first film. He is a racist scumbag who basically, you know he's racist because at the beginning he's whistling Dixie tunes to George, the security guard. And later on, when his wife dies in the racetrack accident, he blames George. And so what he does is he goes to his house in a tow truck for some reason, playing metal music, because you gotta know, man, he's angsty as fuck. And so he does that. He goes to the house, and then the dumbass somehow hooks his leg to the tow truck, goes down the street dragging himself, eventually burns himself alive, while Why Can't We Be Friends by War plays in the background. While I admit it's a pretty comedical death in a way, and it's kind of satisfying to see a scumbag like him go, I don't want to see that in slash films. What I want to see is not satisfying deaths because, like, oh, finally the shitty character's gone, but rather meaningful deaths. A meaningful death that makes you go, man, kind of wish he survived. Which, yes, some of the films do accomplish that. We'll break it down later, though. But anyways, Final Destination 4, awful characters, awful effects, very predictable, and shitty dialogue too, with shitty jokes. Not to mention, the soundtrack sucks. Shirley Walker died after she made the first 3 films soundtracks, and so when this guy Brian Tyler took over, it wasn't as good. You know, it's very bland, generic music. The only memorable track is the first one, the Final Destination, which is, yeah, it's the song. The only memorable track he made in that entire movie was the movie soundtrack, The Final Destination, which is a metal track, which I gotta like it. Not because I like metal or anything. No, God no. God no. The second worst Final Destination of all time, I have to give it to Final Destination 3. Now, where do I start? I really dislike this movie. It is probably one of the worst by far, apart from the 4th one. It is a very boring movie, and while it does kind of take time to develop the characters are so shitty and undeveloped to begin with that they just aren't interesting on screen. Like, just get out of here, you know? And even the deaths, if you come for the deaths were lame. Like, God, the deaths were boring. Like, very, very CGI blood and everything. Like, they ruined some of the deaths and everything. And while some of the deaths were cool, I admit, it was such a goddamn snooze fest, and it just was so unmemorable. If you took this film away from the rest of the franchise, you wouldn't have missed anything. You could skip this film. And you would miss nothing worthwhile because the film is that bad. The only good thing about this film is the beginning roller coaster scene premonition where everything goes crazy, which is pretty unique compared to a highway crash or plane crash or anything. So yeah, all in all, the film is pretty damn bad. Nothing memorable about it. Pretty shitty characters. And the ending was unexpected though. All the characters died, including the main character. But yes, also may I mention there was very repetitive dialogue from the main character. Not even joking, they probably mentioned about 10 times that the main character was a control freak. Like, I get it. I heard it the first time, and I heard it the 10th time. You don't have to tell me that over and over and over again. Very shit film. God damn. Now, the one that's in the middle. The one that's in the middle of the shit pile, from the worst to the best. A mediocre standpoint, arguably a pretty bad though still. Maybe controversial, Final Destination 2. Where do I start with this film? The main character is fucking awful. Without a doubt, the worst main character in history. Now we break down the last two. Final Destination 4. The main character was just a generic main character. Nothing special about him, nothing bad about him. Final Destination 3 had an okay main character, I guess, but sometimes she was super annoying. But I gotta give Mary Elizabeth Winstead credit for her performance in that, because she did do some pretty good scenes at times. In Final Destination 2, we get Kimberly, the most annoying character of all time. She is so annoying, so undeveloped, and just in the end, I really wanted her to fucking die, but sadly, she did not. Oh, not to mention, the main character falls in love with this like 30-year-old cop, and it just makes no sense. The love triangle, the love whole ordeal is just bad. I just don't like it. Not to mention, some of the deaths were extremely shit and unrealistic. For example, in one of the deaths, they are in an elevator, and this girl, who I completely forgot her name, gets her hair stuck in a hook because some guy with hooks are behind her for some fucking reason. Never explained. Gets her hair stuck, and all of a sudden, she somehow, I don't remember how, but she gets her head stuck in the elevator, and the elevator goes up. They try to grab her, but her head falls off. Like, elevators don't work like that. There's pressure involved, and it just doesn't work like that. Okay? The logic in this film makes no sense. In one scene, Eugene, the black guy, has a gun to his head and tries to shoot himself 6 times, but he fails. But for some reason, none of the characters mention that, oh, this guy's immortal until it's his turn on death's list. They never mention that, ever. They never mention the fact that they're immortal. And they don't take any advantage of that. So the logic is absolute dog shit. The cop is unprofessional too, man, I mentioned. Like, the cop just does not know what he's doing. Like, it's just so bad. Like, so my favorite character in this film is probably the one from the first film, Cleo Rivers. For some reason, Alex was not in the first film because they had the genius idea to kill him off in between films. Like, really? By a brick? Are you serious? That's how you kill off one of the greatest main characters in the franchise? You kill him off by a brick falling on his head. Oh, wow. Just, wow. It's just unbelievable. But Cleo is still a great character. And she dies from a stupid petty way where she blows up in the hospital. Like, what was the point of bringing her back if you're just going to kill her off? Like, just for a cheap jump scare, a cheap moment, you know? Like, come on. It's a shitty cash grab. It's a waste of time. And the deaths are just they just make no sense. The plot is stupid. So now, the second best Final Destination film is, well, it was hard to choose this one because, yeah, they're hard to choose from these two. But I think I'm going to give it to Final Destination. This is the first film of the franchise released in 2000. This was the first film that started it all. Now, if we talk about the original idea, how death kills you and everything, and how the premonition and all that, this was a very unique, well-done idea. It was very creative and it was well done. The plane premonition in the beginning with him, Alex, burning up in it was very mind-boggling. Then later, looking in the airport and seeing the plane blow up in the background is insane, and it really showed how the franchise was going to go. The characters have good development throughout the film. There was actual good pacing. It ain't all just death. Every fucking scene. You know, there's actual development, you know? And it can be quite suspenseful at times. It really can be. Like, yes, sometimes some of the characters are a bit dull in this film, but compared to what you see later in the franchise, they're nothing. Nothing to what you see. The film gives you a good reminder of how scary and unexpected death can be, whether in your life or someone else's life. Now, my favorite characters, either Alex or Carter. Alex is the main character, as I mentioned last time. Alex is, without a doubt, a very cool character. I like him a lot. I like his development. I like his, you know, backstory. I like how he tries to avoid death, and, you know, he sells. The actor does a very good job at selling, you know, scenes and emotion. You know, I really like it. You know, it gives you actual emotion for the character. I'm really hoping he survives. Carter, a side character, is the bully in the film, yet somehow he accomplishes being one of the best characters later on in the film, because I don't know, he just gets really good. I don't know, like, it's like the bully in Phineas and Ferb, like the bully that really who is a piece of shit to characters, but is also there kind of for the fun, you know. Not that death is really fun, but that's just an example. That's just an example of what Carter is, really. My least favorite character is Carter's girlfriend, Terry. Just a generic, sleazy, teen high school bitch who's a whore, and nothing special about her. However, her death is memorable. A bus hitting her out of nowhere. Awesome. Fun fact about that death. When it was originally played in test screenings, the death scared people so much in the audience, so much to the point that they went back and made that 2-minute scene with the water that you see afterwards to kind of calm it down and show it out a bit before moving on to the deaths. That's a fun fact for you. But all in all, really good film. Really well done. I like it. I will always love that film. And it is good. It is a good example that they couldn't have made the rest of these films go, oh, okay. And now, the best film of them all, even if it's not obvious, drum rolls please. Final Destination 5. This is a great, awesome film. Good death, great characters, good suspense. Like, I like this film. It has one of the most unexpected twists of all time. You find out in the end this is a prequel to Final Destination. And I really like that. I don't know why. Since I like the first film so much, since they kind of connect the films together, I like that a lot. And Final Destination 5 does a good job at that. And comparing to the last film, Final Destination 4, that was released in 2009, it boggles my mind how they made this film so good. Because this film actually takes time to develop the characters, and they make interesting twists. One of the characters who have a twist is named Peter, or as I like to call him, a Jason Bateman. And basically what this Jason Bateman does is that later on he develops this mind because Tony Todd, who is the funeral guy you see in the first and second film, he wasn't seen in the third and fourth though, very disappointing, but he returns in the fifth, and he mentions to these people that, hey, you can get out of death if you take someone else's life.
You're not supposed to be here. You're shorted death. So you let death have somebody else in your place, and then you take their spot in the realm of the living, all the days and years that they've yet to live. And they take your place in death.
And so, one of the characters, Nathan, accidentally does that with a guy named Roy, who he puts on a hook and kills him. And Peter gets the same idea, since Nathan avoided death. And so Peter tries to kill his own friends. He tries to kill Sam and Molly, Sam being the main character, Molly being this girl who luckily survived the bridge premonition by random chance. By the way, the bridge premonition was very well done, and I really liked it a lot. Very well done, very cool. However, one issue with it though, when it's actually happening and not in the premonition, when they actually get off the bridge falls down way faster than the premonition. Way faster. There is some logic that I question in this film, but I still love it. a lot. And Peter is probably one of my favorite characters because of his twist and how he changes his complete attitude later in the film. So yeah, I really like Peter as a character, one of my favorite characters. Also, Sam's probably one of my favorite characters too, because he's an actually good main character that doesn't want me to fucking bleed my eyes out like in Final Destination 2. But there were some shit characters. You gotta have the pervert character, Isaac, in the film, who dies in a memorable way, a Buddha statue falling onto his head, which was quite an interesting way to go out, in my opinion, very interesting. But yes, one of the things that this film accomplishes is it gives the deaths meaning. Same for the first one, gave the death meanings. You actually felt emotion. It wasn't just meant for the, oh, he's dead, thank God. It's actually like, oh man, he's dead, it sucks, you know? And the film does that very well. When you see Sam die at the end on Flight 180, you feel like, oh damn, that kind of sucks, because you're just kind of rooting for him to survive, as you do in usually any horror or slasher film, you know? But the deaths, my God, the deaths were well done. Sure, a bit unrealistic at times. They are so suspenseful, and they make you so uncomfortable. For example, the gym death scene on Candace. When they build it up with this nail in the wood thing and the gymnastics going all over it, when they actually develop this gym scene out and build it up, it's really well done with the nail and the gymnastics going over and everything. Eventually it does happen. Like, it's so anxious inducing and everything, and the death that ensues afterwards, holy shit, the most uncomfortable I felt during a death ever. But a second close one is the death of Olivia, where her eyes get lasered. Like, it takes your biggest fears and puts it into a film. It makes you actually anxious, which is what the Final Destination film should have done in the first place. Not intense deaths or crazy door deaths. Like, you get uncomfortable, fearful, anxious deaths. And that I really love about this film. And the twist makes it so much better. So all in all, that's why Final Destination 5 is the best film of them all. So all in all, this franchise is quite a hit or miss for many people. I gotta say, for the last film, Final Destination 5, it redeemed itself. And I'm personally excited to see what they do with Final Destination 6, which is going to be released in 2022. So, that is my tier list of all the Final Destinations. Final Destination 4, Final Destination 3, Final Destination 2, Final Destination 1, and Final Destination 5. All 5 of the films. So all in all, yeah, that's all I gotta say. That is the worst to best of Final Destination films. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for taking this time to listen in, hear my opinions, and yeah, all I gotta say is, well, keep on walking and make sure nothing happens to you at all. I'm gonna go now. Hope nothing happens.